Hey, No Clip 2 enjoyers, welcome back to your irregularly scheduled dose of indie game goodness. We've decided that the temporal restriction we placed on ourselves of covering games from previous months isn't exactly useful or necessary. I mean, time's not even real. While our goal is still to continue highlighting great brand new video games, sometimes we'll play something from months or even years ago that never got the love that it deserved. They may not always be misfits or oddities or bizarre computer worlds, but they're still the sorts of games that we love and that we want to share with you. So with that in mind, let's jump on into the first game. Do you remember when Nintendo released that big expansion for Super Mario 3D World called Bowser's Fury? And it featured loads of non-linear platforming islands with secrets and challenges scattered throughout them, and it was really good, and everyone wanted more of that? Well, Fabras, developers of Demon Turf, seemed to agree and made their latest game, Demon Tides, with that same design in mind. This is an expressive 3D platformer where you jump, dash, spin, float, etc., your way through a gigantic water world-esque archipelago as Beebs, a demon girl with the power to change her form to suit her needs. The platforming here is expressive because Beebs' many abilities can be strung together to more easily maneuver through the game's many environments. And the way you chain these different forms together opens up a whole bunch of possibilities for making your way around Demon Tide's world. This is the sort of game where the way you're playing it in the first hour versus the 15th hour will feel completely different. However, all that cool platforming tech has to be paired with things to do, and Demon Tides has got things coming out of its ears. There's a frankly uncomfortable amount of challenges and islands and items and cosmetics. You can augment your different forms to do new things and create new builds for different platforming challenges. There's a kick-ass soundtrack featuring 2Mello and Fat Bard that it goes crazy. And there's a graffiti system that lets you tag surfaces with images, which a lot of people just use to write 6-7 on the ground. Like there's a lot of that. And I'm only scratching the surface with some of this stuff. Like there's so many things to do in Demon Tides. Of course, with this level of ambition comes the opportunity for some technical issues, and yeah, but it's hard for me to be too upset about a camera being in the wrong spot during a cutscene or a sort of awkward bit of geometry when the game is this big and it's serving such a specific niche of player that loves 3D platformers. If you're the kind of person who enjoys mastering a control scheme down to its very minute details, who wants a lot of things to do and enjoys doing them with a great soundtrack in the background, then I strongly suggest you check out Demon Tides.
One of the weirdest underground games of February is BrebeMan, a rhythm shoot-'em-up where you play a breakbeat superhero who saves the world with music. Made by a small Japanese team, it feels like a bizarre PS1 import game like Pepsi Man. The gameplay is very arcadey. Each stage has a dedicated music style including techno, reggae, electronica, future bass, and more. You're equipped with 2 records that you shoot out and hold the attack button down to chip away damage until the enemies break. But if you keep any records on you, they spin around and act as a shield that also deflects enemy attacks. You also have to dodge oncoming projectiles and line up your record attacks, so you're constantly shifting left and right, essentially dancing along to the hectic beats. Over time, you also build up a special meter that you activate with a shoulder button to wipe out everyone on screen, or do massive damage to bosses. The game is challenging. I found myself having to retry stages multiple times before I could clear it, but the thing that keeps me going is how weird and cool all the enemy designs are. You'll fight monsters made out of CDs, crab legs, radios, noisy MCs, and even a gramophone horse named Gramoforce. When a game has such a unique visual style, I'm immediately charmed by it. It's a small game, but worth highlighting because it's so weird and has such a fun, simple concept. Thank you so much, BrebeMan, for saving the day with your blasting breakbeats and absolutely insane art style.
Scarlet Hollow is the first and best and only visual novel I have played. It was about a year ago now that I downloaded the demo, which contains the entire first chapter of the game, and when I say immediately I was hooked, I was hooked immediately. Chapter 5 has now just been released, so while the game is still in early access with 2 more chapters to go, it's undoubtedly the best thing I played in February. Right after arriving in the rural Appalachian town of Scarlet Hollow for your aunt's funeral, weird things start to happen. The place seems to be haunted by the collapse of your family's mine a century ago, and now someone's gone missing, there are strange creatures in the forest, and it only gets worse from there. I think that's a pretty cool setup, but still it's understandable if that on its own isn't enough to hook a visual novel skeptic. Maybe you're more into platformers, you like snooping around for secrets, uncovering lore, complex characters, decisions that really do impact a game, and actually Scarlet Hollow has all of that, minus the platforming. Now that I think about it, it's kind of like a text-based RPG. In the beginning of each run, I currently have 5 going at once. You get to pick from a handful of traits that do significantly affect what happens. The hints you pick up on, the actions you can take, stuff like that. You could pair together the keen eye and book smart traits for a detective build, or my favorite, hot and powerful to flirt with everyone and mention how much you love protein at every opportunity. The reason I've started so many runs is because the game currently has 930,000 words. That's more than the Bible, and I think I know which one I'd rather read. But you definitely won't see each of those almost 1 million words in a single run because there are so many decisions to be made. Who you're gonna hang out with in your free time, how many questions you ask, who you choose to save, who you choose to leave behind. And that's just scratching the surface. Listen, I could go on, but if you like stories, adventure, if you've ever enjoyed reading a book, give Scarlet Hollow a shot.
Laysara Summit Kingdom from Quite OK Games has been in early access for a while. My wife actually played a bunch of this last year, so I was somewhat familiar with it. But at the end of February, it came out into 1.0. They added a bunch of stuff people were asking about, such as the finished version of the campaign. And I guess the best way to explain this is that it's sort of like half a chill city builder and half one of those like economic strategy games like Anno. I haven't played a lot of those games. I played more combat and resource intensive ones like Age of Empires. Laysara is more about having inputs and outputs, but this whole thing takes place in a society that is essentially on the edge of mountaintops in the Himalayas. One of the cool things about it is that each of your towns has sort of different castes of society that are responsible for different things. So you're setting up little micro villages on each of these mountainsides and then connecting them with these crazy bridges and ladders to make sure that everyone can sell things to each other and supply things to each other. There's a whole spirituality aspect to it. It's just like an interesting alternative take on city building that, like I said, is both like remarkably chill in its presentation, but also like not easy. It's a game where you really have to keep your eye on the numbers. But yeah, for someone who's not played the Anno series, I really enjoyed this. And yeah, looking forward to playing more over the next couple of weeks and months.
Even in some of the most robust and chaotic roguelikes, there comes a point after playing a sufficient number of hours that the structure of the game seems to reveal itself in full, that the possibility space of the game that once felt infinite feels suddenly incredibly finite and limited. But what if the scope of a roguelike was not just the number of enemies that it had, not just the number of different abilities that your character had, but the entire goddamn English language? I present to you an unlikely game that lives up to this tall order, Tomb of the Bloodletter. Tomb of the Bloodletter is a language-driven roguelike that plays something like Slay the Spire meets Scrabble. Abilities are placed on individual letters, and the game hands you the reins within certain constraints to spell out whatever words you can manage to think of. Maybe a particularly powerful ability lands on the letter O and you have the capacity to spell out voodoo. Maybe it lands on H and you spell out hashish and cast that spell 3 times. And this is what I think the magic of Tomb of the Bloodletter truly is that on any given turn, the scope of possibility, the number of options that you have as the player to engage with this game, is literally taking every word you've ever learned and matching it against the parameters of the particular battle you're in. In recommending this game to many friends, I've compared it to Divinity Original Sin 2, which seems like a very tall order in an unlikely comparison, but I think it's absolutely merited here, because one of the great things about Divinity Original Sin 2 is that the game feels incredibly expressive and free in this way. It allows you enough freedom to play and explore within the systems of the game. And so too, Tomb of the Bloodletter's possibility space is sufficiently enormous that there have been situations where I've sat and stared at my screen for 10 minutes trying to come up with a word that has enough S's in it that I can avoid an otherwise inevitable death. And this is particularly magic to me because it's very hard for me to think of a lot of games that tap into not only in-game knowledge, but tap into real-world knowledge that transcends the game itself. So not only do you improve at the game as you come to understand its systems and mechanics and learn strategies, but there is something singularly remarkable about feeling like you overcame a situation because of knowledge and creativity and cleverness that exists in you, totally decoupled from the world of this game. So please, if you're a fan of roguelikes, if you're a fan of Slay the Spire, if you're a fan of Scrabble, if you're a fan of words, please check out Tomb of the Bloodletter. I think it is one of the best games this year, far and away.
And those are some of the great indie games that we've been enjoying over the last little while. I hope you've enjoyed this list, and of course, if there's anything you thought was cool and that we should probably check out, let us know in the comments. And again, it really doesn't matter when it came out. You just tell us something that you think we missed, and hey, we might end up covering it. Who knows? Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you at your next visit to Dr. Gaming. I don't know who that is. Is that your doctor? If your doctor's name is Gaming, that's pretty cool. I don't know. Let me know about that in the comments too.